Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For the new subscribers, thank you for subscribing. For the viewers, thank you for clicking this video. So in today's video, guys, we are going to be breaking down the best time frames for you to trade in Forex. Right now, guys, to answer that question, guys, it really depends on the strategy that you're using. That's basically what I would say, and how you actually trade. Because obviously, guys, if you are a scalper, then you would want to stick with the 1 minute, 5 minute, or whatever. And then if you're like a swing trader, you want to stick with the monthly time frame, weekly time frame, daily time frame, or whatever. But for me personally, I'm more of a day trader slash swing trader, right? So for me personally, the time frames that I use is literally only two time frames, guys. Only the 1 hour time frame and the daily time frame. Right now, guys, let me explain exactly why I only use two time frames, because this is really going to open your mind up to something new. Right now, the reason I do this is because, guys, I have a specific system on how I look at the market. Right, so the strategy that I use is called the ICC concept. Right, and when it comes to the ICC concept, guys, price moves in three phases. Right, it moves in three phases. So the first phase is going to be the indication phase, right? So this right here. So essentially, price is giving us an indication that it wants to go up, right? So indication, it goes up. The next phase is now the correction phase. So price retesting that area of interest. And then the last phase is now the continuation phase. Now, this is ideally where you want to take your trades. So essentially, guys, price moves like this, right? So if I break it down like this: indication, correction, continuation. And as you can see in this move here, price is now giving us that same cycle, right? So it's literally like that. So indication, correction, continuation, indication, correction, continuation, indication, correction, continuation. This is basically how I look at the market. Now, I look at the market like this in each specific time frame that I use. Do you understand? Right, so what I mean by this is, guys, in the 1 hour time frame, right, I literally look at the market like this in the 1 hour time frame only. This is literally how I look at the market. Now, I need to teach you, right, what to label your market as. And what I mean by this is, guys, I look at the market like this, right? But do you know what this represents in the market? Do you know what this represents in the market? Like, do you know how to find your lows in the market when it comes to price going on an uptrend? Now, this is where pivot points now come in place, right? So essentially, guys, pivot points are where you want to be looking for your trade. So these are your pivot points right here, where price is looking to reverse, right? So again, pivot points are basically, right, how you determine your lows in terms of an uptrend, right? So these are the pivot points right there. And like I told you guys, imagine this whole move you're seeing here in one specific time frame, which is the 1 hour time frame. Right now, in that same 1 hour time frame, you need to look for your pivot points. So things like this. Now, how do you find your pivot points? Now, this is where you have to understand my system, right? So my pivot point, right, is valid when it has at least two solid sell candles, right? And then that same pivot point has to have created a high. Let me break down what I mean by this, right? Because you might be confused, right? So essentially, guys, pivot points, I will literally break this down with this current market right here. So this is basically how I'm looking at the market. Boom. As you can see. Boom. Right? I want you to follow me. Actually, just keep going like, yeah, I'll just keep going like this. Boom. And then like this, and then like this, as you can see. Right now, let me move this to a clear chart right now. Boom. Right, so your pivot points, guys, are literally these right here. These are your pivot points in the 1 hour time frame, right? You don't need another time frame to tell you what the pivot points are. Do you understand? Right, so these are the pivot points, and essentially this is where you take your trades. Do you see? So we only need one time frame to be able to, you know what I mean, take your trades and, you know what the current trend is, right? So in this specific, you know what I mean, path right here that I just marked up, the trend is literally buys, right? So for price to change from these buys to sells, price needs to break the previous low, right? So when price now breaks and closes below the previous low, then we can anticipate a retracement and then sells to the downside. Now, this, right, only happens, I would say, 60 to 80% of the time, right? So it's not 100% concrete, right? Because price did, in this same specific example, price did end up, breaking a low here, as you can see, right? But it continued to buy up. Why? Because if you do have some kind of experience, you would know, okay, where price change trend was literally on top of the daily zone, right? So this is literally what I'm explaining, right? So this move right here is literally what I'm explaining here, right? So literally, guys, with only one time frame, you can know when this whole move is about to happen. How? Like I told you guys, literally we wait for price in that one time frame to break, trend, and then once it break trend, then we can anticipate, a continuation of that specific trend that it changed to, right? So what I mean by this is, guys, literally price was selling, right? Clearly price was selling down to the bottom, right? And then all of a sudden, price now created this low. Now price creating this low, this is the previous high, right, that price created. Now, when price wants to change trend in that specific time frame, price needs to break the previous high in the case of a downtrend. So price did break the previous high here, and the high basically has to be validated by at least 2 buy candles in the case of a downtrend. In the case of an uptrend, it has to have at least 2 sell candles, right? So what I mean by this is you can't consider this as the low. Why? Because it has only 1 sell candle, right? So if I was to explain to you in this term here, as you can see, this is like a before picture, right? And then this is the after picture. As you can see, these cannot be considered a low, right? Because it has only 1 sell candle, but these can be considered a low because it has at least 2 sell candles here, right? So same thing goes with this right here. Price broke and closed above this high, but this is not the actual high because it has only 1 buy candle, right? So this was the actual high, and not just the actual high, it was the actual high and the previous high, right? So for the trend to change from sells to buys, price needs to break the previous high and close above it. Once price breaks and close above the previous high, then it's a sign, right, that price wants to change trend, right? Now notice how price now changed trend here, and then as you can see, price started buying up, right? And if you notice, guys, it was maintaining that same low. As you can see, price maintained this low here, price maintained this low here, right? Now here price created a high, and then this was the previous low. Price broke and closed below it, indicating, okay, the trend has changed from buys to sells. But with experience, you will know that, okay, likely this is like a fake out and price actually wants to continue buying, right? And then price is now buying here, and as you can see, price is still buying. Notice how price created at least 2 I would say 2 sell candles, right? This low here, but you can't really consider this like the actual low because the low has to be validated, right, when price creates a high. And what I mean by this is, let me see if I can find a really good example of this. Let me see if I can find a good example. So essentially, guys, this low here, right, so this low here, right, it can only be considered a low when it creates a high. Really that simple. So what I mean by this is it's very simple. So like this here, right, you can see price literally has 2 sell candles, right? Notice, boom, it came like this. Now it's meant to continue, the buy upwards, right? So something like this and then like this up, but notice it stopped here and then now broke past it. But you cannot say this is like a change of trend. Why? Because this low that was created did not create a high higher than this. It literally stopped here. Now if it stopped here above this previous high, then we can consider this as the low. But until this low creates a high, then you cannot consider this as a low, right? So as you can see, price did end up closing below this, and then it retraced a little bit before it then now bought all the way up here, right? So this is essentially how you look at the market, right? And then like I told you guys, it's literally a system. And to give you guys right much more simpler example or a much more simpler concept, right? We literally look at only one time frame. Literally, you can literally only trade the one time frame, but we use the daily time frame for kind of like, you know, help us to not take the right or the wrong trades, I would say, right? So the 1 hour time frame we use to follow the market on a day-to-day basis, right? Even though it's consolidating or whatever, right? For price to change from the sell that's happening to buys, price needs to break the previous high. Once it breaks it, and then there's a 60% chance that price wants to continue the trend to the upside. In some occasions, price might just continue selling like this, which is perfectly fine, right? My system doesn't work 100% of the time. You get me, right? But the point is, guys, is a system. When you see that system play out, follow through and understand that, okay, if a high is broken, if a previous high is broken like this, then likely price wants to change trend from sells to buys. If price breaks the previous low in an uptrend, then likely price wants to change from buys to sells. And this is basically how you look at the forex market, right? Like, they really like this. Now, in terms of, you know, taking your trades and things like that, this is where we now incorporate the daily time frame in terms of, you know, knowing when to not take your trade or knowing when price is likely going to reverse from here, right? So in this case here, you know, something like this, you can know, okay, when price landed here, there's a likelihood that, okay, price wants to reverse from here, right? When price broke the trend from buys to sells and then it's still on top of this daily support, then likely price wants to continue buying, right? So this is essentially how you would want to look at the market. But overall, guys, you don't really need multiple time frame analysis to tell you, oh, you know, buys is about to happen right now, right? So you don't need multiple time frame, guys. You just need a system, and that system is the break of the previous high. Really that simple. If price is trending down, the break of the previous high. If price is trending up, the break of the previous low. And a low, right, must be validated by at least 2 sell candles, right? So in case of a uptrend, the low must be validated by 2 sell candles, right? In case of a downtrend, the low must be validated by 2 buy candles. All right. So again, if you do need help in terms of understanding more of this strategy, then you can always download this free ebook I have on here and just put in your email, and you know, you could sign up and get this access to it. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys in a different video. Peace.